Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best of 5 series of Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1, we find ourselves on good old Oceanborn. Now spawning right here in the top left hand corner, playing with the green Protoss probes. We're looking at none other than Stats' main Nexus and his opponent down in the opposite corner of the map, playing with the blue Zerg pieces. We have none other than Lambo. This particular series was recently played at an offline tournament in Bulgaria. I heard that it's a bit of a banger, so we're gonna find out together exactly what ended up going down. Now, if I were to be making any guesses, right? Generally speaking, both Stats and Lambo play very macro focused. They don't really like to play all too cheesily most of the time. I'm, of course, a massive fan of Lambo. He plays this game incredibly analytically. So he's been... Oh, no. We have cat aggro. You guys want to see... Okay, fine. I'll show you the cat. You're sweet. Oh, yeah, okay. Can you... Is it possible to cast with a cat in your lap? Oh, God. Your tail, dude. Anyways... Remember when, for example, Raynor won the Gamers 8 tournament last year? One of the main reasons, obviously he performed really well, but one of the reasons why Raynor did incredibly well is because he was coached by Lambo. Lambo did a ton of research on every single one of the opponents, and he prepared strategies and build orders and all that in advance for Raynor. And Lambo he's a bit of a StarCraft professor. He understands what needs to be done in basically any scenario, and he's got a very good understanding of every other player out there. And I think that makes him very dangerous. He's obviously one of the very best Zerg players on the European ladder. But generally speaking, he does tend to treat StarCraft 2 like an Excel spreadsheet, right? He will try to play as optimal as possible, and because of that, I guess most of the time it's kind of difficult to, in that case, right, to go for cheesy build orders. I don't really think Lambo does a whole lot of it. Oh my god, I think Toby believes that I'm talking to him. He's like, humans suddenly started talking. He must be talking to me, because there's nothing else going on. It's just you and me in this room, buddy. Oh, he's purring. Anyways, it's going to be a Stargate opener here from Stats. Stats, of course, also somebody who likes to play this game defensively most of the time. I really am a fan of Stats. He's one of the most successful Protoss players historically. Now, of course, he went off to the military. He had to come back a little while later. But generally speaking, he also likes to play this game in a more defensive mode. Both of them can mix in some cheese. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of it, because obviously this is a best of 5 series. We can't really treat this like 5 individual best of ones. We have to mix it up every once in a while, but most of the time these two will have their go-to strategies, and the build orders that they like to play are, well, the ones that they're going for right now. Maybe Lambo would skip out, for example, a Roach Warren, or maybe he would skip a Baneling Nest and go into a faster Hydra Den. Something like that is technically possible, although I also know that Lambo is not necessarily the biggest fan of Hydralisks in particular. Anyways, it's gonna be a very fast third Nexus. And this is already being scouted right here by Lambo, who now finishes up a metabolic boost. Nexus goes down. This is off of a single gateway. So there is a second gateway building right now to complete the wall off, but this is obviously not a whole lot of Protoss right now. Just going to be 2 Adepts together with an Oracle, and the Oracle is ready to start putting on some pressure. We'll probably see Stats going up to 3 Oracles here in total. Toby's rubbing his face into the microphone. Welcome to my professional commentary, where I cast video games. Ugh. With a cat in my lap. Oh, you're cute, though. Yeah, you are sweet. Toby's actually already preparing again for the winter. As I, am, of course, a man with a cat. I have to be taking pictures of my cats all of the time as well. And I decided to compare a couple photos, and he's already preparing for the winter again. Like, my facial hair is absolutely terrible. I can't grow a beard for the life of me. Toby is already prepared for the winter time. Or at least he's in the process of preparing for the winter time already, because his facial hair is coming in clutch. Really lovely control right here on the Queens, by the way. 2 drones so far going down, but you can tell here that he skipped, well, one of the Spore Crawlers at the very least up until this point. This is clean defense here from Lambo. He did end up taking a bit of damage from one of those oracles. Nothing all too crazy. The shields, of course, will regenerate. It's going to be +1 melee together with a Roach Warren right now. Right at about the 4.5 minute mark for that. And I'm assuming, yep, 5 minutes. That's usually the timing for a lair. In the meantime, on the other side, Stats is going to go into Blink. He's going to go into the +1 ground attacks as well. He's roaming the map with the oracles, not really achieving all too much with them, but he's keeping them alive. And that is the most important thing, of course. There was a time in StarCraft 2's history where getting 2 drones would, well, put you very far behind. And I don't really love that he only got 2. You really do want to get a bit more than that, but Protoss players have... I don't know, leave my headphone cable alone. Protoss... This is a disaster of a cast. Protoss players have figured out a way to... they have figured out a way to play macro. He's starting to wag his tail. When cats start wagging their tail, you know it's about time. We're gonna start biting stuff. Cables, fingers, whatever is within reach. Alright. If you can sit in my lap, you can stay. Otherwise, I'll have to move you. Ooh, this is a nice catch right here by Stats. Gets 1 drone, though. I think he, with a bit more targeting there, he could have had a bit more. He's playing this very conservatively. Yeah, so when we have games like this, I naturally tend to favor Zerg. Even though Lambo hasn't really taken any damage himself. Or sorry, even though Stats hasn't really taken any damage himself, Lambo has taken very little, and he's playing Zerg. And Zerg obviously has the ability to make a ton of workers all at the same time. So already, he's now sitting at over 80 workers. Well, at least when I started that sentence. A couple more drones are going down, we're building some structures. But this is smooth sailing right here for Lambo, who's effectively trying to skip most of the early game. He's trying to skip most of the mid game. He wants to go straight towards the hive. And lurkers. So 6 minutes and 50 or so seconds on that hive. That is the complete standard if you can play a smooth early game. Here are Stats though, coming across the map. And this is why Lambo decided to go +1 melee. These Stalkers are really powerful, but we do need some units though. We only have... Where's the Zerglings? Okay, 18 is not going to be quite enough. Getting the kill on this base is not the end of the world for Lambo, because this is his 5th. He can afford losing a base right now, because he really only needs 8 gases worth of production at this point in time. The main problem that you run into is the Lurker, right? So the Lurker is very expensive as far as the gas goes. Keeping this expansion alive is really good for the German Zerg. We're even gonna go Overlord drops already. He probably wants to do some Lurker drops in that case. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, Stats is now going into a 4th base. He's building up static defense. He's going Fleet Beacon. He's going 2nd Stargate. We are cruising right now. The creep threat is being kept in check reasonably well, so nothing all too crazy there. But this is essentially a gentleman's agreement right now to not really be too aggressive. This is the StarCraft equivalent of like 10 minutes no rush. And we're doing a bit of attacking, sure. But neither player is really taking damage. So, up until this point, just a single worker has gone down for Protoss. 5 drones, a Hydra, 2 Overlords, 24 Zerglings. Good control, of course, right there by Stats. But really nothing to write home about. And he's gonna go Tempest. Dude, everybody's been going Tempest lately. Now, there's a Nidus network coming up. We have a couple of Overlords with Overlord speed moving on over towards the left side of the map. This will not be spotted by those Zealots. It's gonna be a Lurker drop, followed up right now as well with what seems to be a Nidus network. And he's gonna be doing it against a Protoss who's going very, very fast Tempest. Stats is now making pylons for the remainder of the game. Zealots here could have done so much damage. They went all the way around and then idled over here on the left side of the map. They could have caught this, but he didn't. He didn't know. Plus with air weapons coming up. Okay. It seems like the 10 minutes of no rush are nearly up. This is a classic attack right here from Lambo. So, fight on the right side while dropping on the left. A very modern approach to dealing with Turtle Protoss. Try to distract him in as many areas as possible. Now, a Zealot run by over here is nice. Zealot run by over at the third base is really nice too. There are a couple of spines set up, but probes are already starting to go down. A couple of the Templar also do fall. A few storms will ultimately land. I do believe the static defense will hold for now, but the aggression is going to continue. Yeah, you blink twice and suddenly there is damage all over the map. 10 minutes, we barely did not make it, but about 9 minutes and 20 seconds or so is when this game really got going. We have aggression all over the map now, with drones falling on the right, drones falling on the left. We have Niduses though inside of the main base and the natural, and these will be quite difficult to clean up. Nexus already has disappeared. Both players were building this up for a while. If Stats would have had vision on the left side of the map, that would have been amazing. If he could have intercepted all of this, but this is ultimately going really, really nicely right here. For the Zerg, his main problem right now is dealing with those Skytles units. It's 4 Tempest and a Mama ship now. Fair enough. Hydras aren't a preferred choice here, but with, yeah, a couple Vipers in the mix, if you can abduct those big units from Protoss, it should be manageable. He could go into a Spire right now too. The fact that Lambo isn't going Spire is telling me that he's got the feeling he can end the game in the next couple minutes. He's got the feeling that he really doesn't need that. He's got the money to afford it, but he's decided to skip that for the time being. Nexus will be restarted in the natural expansion. Gateway is going to complete the wall off again. A couple pylons to once more go up to 200. The Hydra Queen Zergling aggression over here is still going on. There's no lurkers in the mix though, so I think what we're going to do, is get some energy on those Vipers and then abduct those Tempest one at a time. What a beauty of a game right here from Lambo. He had Spine Crawlers ready to go to make that defense at home a little bit easier. And he's now just looking for opportunities, knowing very well that he's put himself in a good spot. Now, it's a good spot. It's not necessarily a game-winning one yet, though. Like, this is still a scary Protoss army. We have a lot of Storms available now, too. This is still Skytles. Zerglings are slipping through the cracks. They don't have Adrenal Glands yet, but this is still going to hurt the Protoss if he doesn't warp in reinforcements here. Nice SimCity here, though, by Stats, trying to reduce that surface area as much as possible, putting his units on hold position. Fight over here going all right. Looks like we did miss an abduction. Mothership ended up going down already. The Tempests do still live. They can, of course, do a lot of damage against these Hydras from a distance. Good storm there as well by the Protoss player. Zergling still going to town in the main base. 9 additional probes have gone down. Or as Lambo likes to say, 9 additional... Okay, no, sorry. 9 additional probes going down. Yeah, this is a really lovely game here by the Zerg. Clean defense early on. And then suddenly, both players put their foot on the gas. And Lambo, I mean, this is a little bit inflated, I would imagine. 900 average actions per minute? Yeah, I don't think that's, we have a lot of rapid firing going on there. I know actually Lambo has a proper pro gaming keyboard where he has specific repeat rates and specific repeat delays on every single one of the keys, which is kind of insane. So depending on the ability that he wants to use, he's got different repeat rates. And it apparently allows you very smooth gameplay, at least in theory. In those super hectic moments, though, I can imagine it makes a big difference. At this point, he's just fishing, though. Lambo just harpooning whatever unit he needs. Drags them into the lurkers and the Hydras. Speaking of which, new lurkers are coming up, new Hydras are coming up. The only thing that's not really done here for Lambo is the upgrades. I wouldn't have minded some additional Evo Chamber upgrades, but honestly, I have a hard time seeing Protoss really hold on for a really long time here. Yes, these fights individually in isolation are good, but the Swarm is here. He's been rebuilding his economy, though, so it's technically possible. He needs to hold on for a little bit more. There are a few more Templar. Stats, of course, I mean, he's the Shield of Ire for a reason. Very strong defensive gameplay. You can think of him as, like, the Showtime of Korea, I guess. But I think the Swarm is just a little bit too oppressive here, isn't it? Well, I'm saying that. Supply-wise, this is still a playable game for Stats. His economy is still fine. He just smashed his piggy bank. Transfusion right there on the lurker. He just smashed his piggy bank, and apparently he can barely afford another Mama ship. Another warp in. Ah, dude, Stats is actually doing as good as you can possibly do. There's another abduction, though, and these abductions are painful. Okay. Can he get the Viper? Not quite. Would have loved to see a feedback there, but yeah, ultimately, the Zerg is just a little bit too much. What do you think of the game? What do you think of the victory screen? Look at that facial hair. Coming in, dude. Coming in. Oh, no. What are we doing? What? No. What? Toby. You can't eat the camera. Alcyone is next. Now, this is a hatch gas pool opener right here for Lambo. Except it's the hatch on the quote-unquote wrong side of the mineral field. Okay, then. I was talking about this recently in that series that I casted featuring Shin. Shin did a very similar opener. I feel like this is relatively unpopular these days, but then again, Shin also ended up going for like... Shin ended up going proxy hatchery with a Spinecrawler rush, and he decided to... That was against max specs. He also decided to go for a drone rush, which is one of those builds that I haven't seen in ages. So he was playing very cheesily. But apparently, yeah, Lambo is also just going for a strat that we don't see as much anymore on this map. At the very least, not in the tournament games that I've been watching. It's obviously still viable, but I think the real scary thing about taking the hatchery over here is not even the mineral income. It's the opportunity to go for a push to your opponent's third base. Because this distance over here, so you knock down these rocks, the Queen March from there to here is very short. Protoss can technically take their third base on the other side, and I've wondered if that's a better choice. Because from this position, we do see a lot of Queen Marches, but... yeah. Lambo, the professor, may very well end up thinking about that thing too. Not sure. Stargate coming up, though, here for Stats. And we will probably see Oracles. I know. This is going to be a surprise for all of you, but I think we're going to see Oracles. Yeah. If Protoss sees this in time, they can make a forge and actually just put down a pylon and a forge. And like a photon cannon over there. It's a bit unreliable, though, because you need to catch it early enough. If Zerglings are out or if the Queen is out, you are never going to be able to deal more damage than you're looking for. So those rocks need to be down here for Zerg in order to defend, and you can tell here that Lambo, he's got this down to a science. Yeah, if there would be anybody doing StarCraft 2 research papers on strategy, specifically, I think yeah, Lambo would make the most sense in my mind. Okay. Oracle is gonna move across the map. 2 drones right here for... So 2 drones and 2 adepts. I think that's a trade that Zerg will like to make any day of the week. Because the problem right now for Protoss is that you can't take a 3rd Nexus without it. You now need to keep that Oracle at home. You would love to have 2 adepts over here with a pylon and hold position and all that. Lambo is attacking this. He's trying to see if Protoss wants to activate the Pulsar Beam. It takes energy for Protoss to activate the Pulsar Beam. So any damage here done to the Nexus may be a bit annoying, but Stats does not take the bait. Okay. Zergling slippery. They managed to get around. Oracles have left. That pylon is going to go down too at this rate. And this is rough. This is rough right here for Stats. So... in a perfect scenario, if Protoss deals a bunch of damage, a Queen March can be held quite nicely. But this is the type of setup where a Queen March is very dangerous. Because Protoss is not running a smooth game at all. They're not really dealing a lot of damage to the Zerg at all either. Everything's just slowed down. Even if it's just like 10 seconds or so, it is something that you have to take into consideration here. Because any aggression right now from Zerg would hit a little bit harder. Now... Lambo doesn't need to go for an all-in if he doesn't want to. If he just plays a macro game here, he can obviously extend his, like, 10-second lead or so. Judging by the fact there's an Evo Chamber and a Roach Warren and probably a Lair. Yep. This is him just playing a macro game. This is him not really doing anything too crazy. But I would be very, very concerned right now if I was Stats for a Queen March. Because how in the world do you hold it? It's very, very difficult. He's decided to delay the Forge here a little bit too. I would love to see an upgrade start up here for Lambo though. He's had that Evo chamber done for a little bit. It is important to not forget about those upgrades. I think he was meant to start that a little bit ago. He's now also slightly supply blocked. Starts up a couple OVs at this point in time. Starts up a bunch of gases now to try and make up for that. But there's the +1 melee. That should have started up a while ago. And that may have just thrown away the little advantage that Lambo managed to create for himself. Okay, so Templar Archives on the back of this for Stats. This is a great opportunity for him, albeit one that he is not aware of. But if you can get some damage done, right? So maybe go into Charge on the back of this. You can go like Archon Zealot with Stalkers for support. You can go into, well, Storm as well, which probably is a style that Stats would favor, just stylistically. Ooh, okay. Well, Lambo is ready to mix it up entirely. I didn't expect him to be playing Mutas, but that is the plan. It's a bit odd to go Mutas on this map, specifically because this base over here, it's great as far as minerals go, but there's only a single gas. And this is not a rich Vespian gas geyser. So it is something that is certainly a mind game, because Stats knows that Zerg is likely only on like 5 gases up until this point, which means that Mutas, since they're 100 minerals, 100 gas each, they're difficult to produce here for the Zerg player, which is exactly the reason why I don't think Stats is going to be expecting it. Now he's going Storm, and he is going Blink Stalker, so technically we'll have the tools to deal with this. We'll have to see how many, Lambo decides to make. Oracle swooping in as well. Getting rid of some of these Stalkers, though, is beneficial, of course, for a Muta player. He needs to be careful that he doesn't throw away too many of his Roaches, because Roaches also cost gas, 25 each. You really want to be saving up as much Vespian here as possible as the Zerg. Okay, so let's have a look at the base defenses. We have 1 shield battery, nothing in the main base, nothing in the natural. 1 shield battery over there, but that's not going to be good enough. +1 air weapons also starts up here for the Zerg player, so that means he wants to go mass Muta. You wouldn't get that upgrade if you only plan on making 1 bunch of them. So, yep, 9 Mutas come up. I would imagine we're going to see as many Mutas produced here as possible. Okay, so let's see. 4th Nexus starts up at the bottom of the map. Stats has no idea about what the follow-up from Zerg is going to be. This looks to him as a regular Lurker follow-up. Is he prepared against a mass of Mutalisks? Okay, High Templar spotted, but all the High Templar are over at the 3rd. What Lambo is trying to do is he's trying to get the Protoss to ball all of their units together, and at the very least to keep him warping in. If he's warping in here, it means that there's not going to be any Phoenix production really, and the odds of him getting spotted would be very, very low. Muta's going around the left side of the map, completely unscouted. Stats is not going to see it until right about right now. Now, he is feeling like something is a little off. Photon Cannon coming up, but it gets targeted down immediately. Great crisis management here, though, by Stats. He smelt that something was not quite right. Shield battery here, also within range of the Stalkers. Overcharge will be activated. That is as good as it was ever going to be right there for Stats. Considering he didn't know, he had no clue about what's happening there. The fact that he made Photon Cannons at the perfect timing is absolutely pivotal. Lovely work by Protoss. And that makes this Muta play a little bit funky. Now, Stats does not know whether or not this is only going to be about 8 Mutas. If this is going to be about 8, maybe 12 Mutas in total, he doesn't really need to make a lot of static defense, and he doesn't really need a lot of, like, Storm available and all that. Ooh, Archon? Archon's the natural enemy right here of the Mutalisk. They're being magic boxed. Great control right there by the German Zerg. Trying to get more of these Archons. Now, oh, he gets 1 more kill. Woo, Mutas are rarely used as a fighting unit like that. Usually they're very much so an harassment tool. But Lambo finishing up the +1. Stats must have clicked on one of those Mutas by now as well. So he must have realized that this is going to be continued Muta production in that case. You only ever get upgrades for the Mutas if you plan on making a lot of Mutas. If it's just going to be 1 group of them, 1 flood of Mutas, and that's it, you would rarely actually double down with those upgrades. So, Fleet Beacon coming up together with Phoenix production. Fleet Beacon, there's an upgrade called Anion Pulse Crystals, which is +2 range for all of the Phoenixes. And that's gonna make them a very easy fighting machine against all of those Mutalisks. But you do need a lot. I do find this plan, though, from Lambo a little bit ambitious. I think overall, Mutas are fine, but they're by no means ranked amongst the best unit that Zerg has. They have... There it is. There's the upgrade. Takes a long time, it's expensive, but it does take quite a bit here for Lambo to win the game. And this is ultimately still a Protoss player on 4 bases. 4 base Protoss is dangerous. Storm? Okay. These units are mostly stuck. I say that, though. There was only 1 Storm for some reason. Did the other High Templar fall? We don't actually have any additional Templar. Stats has got gas. I'm a little surprised he hasn't made more. He's decided to go for a second Stargate, and I guess the Fleet Beacon also costs quite a bit. 200 gas. 300 minerals. A couple more Templar, though, would be massive, because these units are all super flimsy from the Zerg. 1 Archon is also nothing all too amazing. Good targeting here once again by Lambo. Lambo, by the way, did go for a Hydra Den, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Lurker Den on the back of this eventually. Now he sees the little... You see the little purplish, yellow, whatever this color is. Purple, pink. Definitely not yellow. Anyways, you see those attacks coming in on the Mutas. That is the ranged upgrade. And since obviously Phoenixes can move and shoot at the same time, and they're about as fast as the Mutalisks, they can deal damage to the Mutas. And the Mutas should never, in theory, be able to reach them. This is going to slow down the game tremendously, though, for Lambo. Because it's now him going into, a Hydra transition. He doesn't have any of the Hydra... No, he does have Grooved Spines. Okay, at the very least, he does have one of the Hydra upgrades, but he needs both for them to be offensive. You can use them on creep, I guess, and that can be quite good, but it's a little risky. We're going to go Hydraling Bane on the back of this eventually, but again, something that Psionic Storm is really, really good against. Okay. Hello. Hello. Ooh, that was a bit of an all-army hotkey or something along those lines right there for stats. It's busy because... maybe it's because he's busy over here on the right side of the map, too. Lovely split right there on those Mutas by Lambo. Ultimately, though, these are still Mutalisks. Lovely work right there by Lambo. Really scraping the bottom of the barrel right there as far as Zerg Micro goes. But the longer that this goes on, the more I like it for stats. He is building up a significantly better unit composition. I don't love Hydraling Bane very much anymore in 2024. It used to be much better before... Yeah, apparently Lambo agrees. Wow, what a game by stats. It used to be much better before the Baneling nerfs, but... Even though Lambo seemed to be winning, well, the first 98% or so of this game, it was Stats who grabs the victory. The key to that base defense from Stats was that 1 photon cannon that he built. If it wasn't for that 1 photon cannon, right when the Mutas flew in, I think it would have been a win for Lambo. And that's the thing about Mutas. It always feels like such a fragile choice. Like, technically they can win the game, and we do see it every once in a while. We've obviously seen, well, for example, Raynor play quite a bit of Muta against Clem lately. Clem is, well, probably the best player in the world right now, at least with the way that he's playing. The guy is looking ridiculous. And he can catch his opponent off guard, but there is this vulnerability with Muta play, where you have to try and catch the opponent off guard, and you have to try and see if you can maybe catch them right when they are not paying attention. And that's exactly where I personally don't love Mutas. I think they're a great tool, but they feel very all-in-y. Now, I guess a lot of the Zerg players at the highest level would make the argument that that is their only choice, right? Because even Lurkers do feel a little bit all-in-y. Lurker Nidus feels a bit all-in-y. Brute Lords are kinda eh. Ultras are kinda eh. There's a lot of all-in-y mid to late game strats for the Zerg. So I guess it's whichever gamble you want to go for. But I do feel like Mutas are more on the gambly side than some of the other alternatives. Anyways, you love to see it. Very fun unit composition, and Yeah, I think Lambo played that about as good as he could have, to be honest. Like, he killed Archons with them, he killed High Templar with them, he caught his opponent. Yeah, he was attacking before the Mutas came out as well, right? So Stats had no idea that it was going to be Muta play. At the very least, I don't believe he scouted it, but Stats has played this game for long enough to realize that something was a bit fishy. He hadn't seen any Hydras, he hadn't really seen any transition from the Zerg yet, so at some point, I guess the only real option would be Mutalisk. He started up, he started up those photon cannons at the perfect time. It's extremely hard to do, but Stats played that very, very well. Although I would have liked to see a couple more Templar. And maybe a bit better target firing with the Archons, because Archons, yeah, getting killed by Mutas is not usually how it goes. Okay. Good targeting here by Stats. 5 drones up until this point in the game is not bad. Another one comes in, gets another. Beautiful. Okay. So that's a clean early game right here for Stats. Best that he's done so far throughout this series. There's once again the +1 melee. We have a Roach Warren, and we'll probably see a lair here momentarily. There it is. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, it's going to be +1. It's going to be Blink. We have all seen this build a million times before. Okay. So everything is very normal. Now, where do we take this game from here, though? I don't think Stats is really the one who's going to be mixing it up. I'd be very surprised. He probably will go Templar Archives again. He will probably go Storm again. He can obviously follow this up in different ways, as he's once more sniping some drones. Somehow escapes on this Oracle by the skin of his teeth. Okay. Not bad. But it seems like Stats has got his build order, and he's sticking with it. 4th hatchery coming up for Lambo on the left side of the map. That's a very friendly hatchery positioning here. I would imagine that means he has to go Lurkers. At least this tells me, like, this wouldn't be... You wouldn't go here if you wanted to play Mutas again. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you expand in the direction of your opponent? This map does have a pretty easy attack path over here, especially with Lurkers, so I would imagine that's the plan. We do have an Infestation Pit again, we do have a Hydralisk Den again, so I guess that's the play. Templar Archives here for Stats. I don't think he's gonna go and, well, build Archon Zealot. Nope, we're gonna go into Stormy Boys instead, and I would imagine we will still see Charge on the back of this, but the Shield of Ire is doing Shield of Ire-y things. Little awkward here. These guys don't have Blink yet. He's gonna get there eventually. Now, Stats doesn't know about this base, but I believe he does know about the lack of base on the other side. Lambo is now also thinking about the attack that we do see Stats going for. There's indeed the Hive coming up. There is indeed the Lurker Den. And this base is going to be quite a difficult one to hold on to. With good control, those Stalkers can hit very hard. Now, this was a quick +1 melee here by Lambo, so those Zerglings are quite nice. But I really like this angle here for Stats. He's very close to the edge of the creep. He can very easily warp in reinforcements. The only thing is he needs to look away. Ooh, aggressive Blink forward. That seemed unnecessary, but I guess he's dealing a lot of damage here to the mineral line. That is also going to shut down most of this aggression, though. I think? Well, that's a lot of drones going down. Lambo has been making a ton of workers, though, and he still keeps the base going, so that's the most important part here. He needs the gases in particular. These gases are absolutely critical when you want to be playing a Lurker-based style, and that's exactly where we're going. Hive is just about to finish up. You can, of course, make Lurkers at Hatchery Tech, but they are really good when you get the Lurker upgrades. 4th Nexus coming up on the high ground now. Zealot run-bys. Much easier to deal with on this map than what we saw on Oceanborn, for example. Oceanborn is a little bit sketchy in that department. Okay, Lurker drops. Once more on the production tab. Seismic Spine's coming up. Stats going for a Void Ray. I think he is preparing for that Overlord drop. He's recognizing this as a near identical game to the one that they played on Oceanborn. That one went in favor of Lambo. He's preparing. It's just a single void, though. It's not that much. Fleet beacon on the back of this, too. Here's once again the lurkers. What about that dropper lord? Didn't we have a dropper lord? Okay, yeah, there's 2 overlords inside of a... Oh. Unload, unload, unload. All right. Overlord is going to go down. In the meantime, there's a big fight over here at the middle of the map on the side of the Protoss. Seismic Spines has finished up right now. That's the ranged upgrade for lurkers. The other upgrade is for burrow and burrow speed, but it's, yeah, if they're already burrowed, it doesn't really matter. Oh my god, careful, stats, jeez. There is an observer nearby. He wants to try and commit here. Why are the Templar not using their storms? I'm a little bit surprised that they are so late to the party. Finally, we get some additional storms in the mix. He knows that he's dancing on the edge of the spines there, but as soon as the Protoss ground units are engaged, the lurkers are fired, you can get a little bit more value. I find the High Templar control here a bit suboptimal, but ultimately Stats does indeed survive. Nidus Network, Tempest. This really is reminiscent of game number 1. There's the Lurker Burrow improvement coming up. 5 additional Dropper Lords. So Dropper Lords together with a Nidus Network. I kind of dig it. Yeah, we've seen Serral mess around with this a little bit in some of his games. Serral's been going for a very similar idea. Maybe this is where it originates. It seems like a lot of the strategies actually that are very popular, that are very commonly played, are actually originating from Lambo. Lambo is a very significant influence in that department. It's pretty cool. Okay. How many Tempest are we on? 2 Tempest. Nidus Worm in the back of the main base for the natural expansion here of Protoss. This is an easy cleanup. What about the drop? And this is not just a drop with lurkers this time around. We have queens in there, zerglings in there, a couple of hydras in there too. Micro the Tempest, please. He will micro it away. That's important. There's a fight happening over here too, but lovely stasis ward by Protoss. We have one cheeky little lurker from the low ground, slowly chipping away at those probes in that 4th base's mineral line. Lambo trying to create as much action all on the Protoss side as possible, and he's rallying everything that he's got towards the other side of the map. Some of the units from the Zerg player will once again retreat. They did leave around a little bit of creep, but it's going to be cleaned up relatively easily. Recall right here towards the right side. Yeah, this isn't the way that Stats likes to play, though. So Stats really is playing this very passively. Very different from, for example, I don't know, Hero, like one of his fellow countrymen. Hero likes to play a lot more aggressively than Stats. Stats is basically ready to take a beating. He likes getting punched. What can we say? We don't shame that. No. We don't shame that. Okay. You know what? He's very good at getting punched. Because so far, he's held on just fine, and the army composition is once again improving. Lovely storm. Those are the storms we want to see. That Hydra army is looking very flimsy. Only a couple lurkers remain. Oh, this is a dangerous attack right here by Stats, though. Moving away from the safety of aesthetic defense, but it looks like it is the right call. Stats, you absolute madman. Wonderful defense. Great defense right there by the Protoss. We have a little bit more aggression here once more. I like how Lambo is abusing this little part of the map. We haven't seen that all too much in a lot of the games, but strategically it makes perfect sense. The thing I don't really like though here for Stats is his economy. So he's got 67 probes, which is decent. Immortal man, please turn around. We did put a queen in first. The units that you put into the Nidus Worm first also are the ones that pop out first. I think the Immortal could have prevented all of this from happening, but the Queen popped out first, so transfusing on the Nidus Worm kept it alive for a little while longer. Okay. Tempest going all over the place. Economy from Protoss still identical. Yeah, Zerg is once again forced to retreat. Attack on the right side of the map too. A couple of zealots. Finally, Stats is getting some counter damage done. Not a ton. I feel like we should hide these and go back for more in a minute or so. +1 arrow weapons, researching. Another robo facility coming up. I think that's probably him remaking, yeah, the lost robo facility. We need an observer over here. Do we not have an observer? Okay, Oracle it is. Overlord in the bottom right will be shut down too. And suddenly this mass aggression from Lambo. So Lambo is... he's basically setting a lot of traps and then he tries to collapse them all at the same time. It worked, but it didn't work great. I think in most of the games that Lambo practices, he will probably have won by now. Maybe not against players like, for example, Showtime or MaxPax. Those guys are ridiculously good. But against anybody else on the European server, I think these are the type of attacks that are absolutely lethal. Okay, Nidus Worm coming up. Mama Ship coming up as well. We have a pushover in the bottom right-hand corner. Another Nidus Worm going up in the main base. Yeah, Lambo's strategy here is to basically throw a lot of Zerg at the wall and hope that something really sticks. So far, nothing has really stuck yet, but maybe this attack is going to be the one. Fight over here. Nidus Worm in the bottom left will get shut down. No cancel on that Nexus. Attacking the natural expansion once more. Yeah, this is the way that Lambo plays. Suddenly, he is everywhere, and this time around, Stats has been defending. But at some point, he did not hold his shield up. 22 probes go down, a Nexus falls. Maybe even the Mama Ship will not come out. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be real close. Woo! Okay, well, she pops, but 22 probes do end up getting killed there, too. There is still a lot of Skytles remaining, though. Okay. Okay. $142 supply remains right now for Lambo, who is steadily improving his unit composition. Trying to go into more upgrades. Trying to gobble up the whole map. But Stats, yeah, he is not having a good time here. He decides to tap out, despite still having a lot of resources in the bank. I think he took the last minute or so, processing the loss. Site Delta is going to be our next game. Match point right here for Lambo, who's been playing a really lovely series. Yeah, he took a bit of a Muta gamble, sure, but I don't mind that. Like, I was impressed right there by the base defense from Stats. It's one of those strategies that I feel like is kind of just, if the Protoss plays really well, it shouldn't ever win the game. Right? In theory, it's just not that great of a choice. But the fact that Lambo, of all people, decided to play it, right? Mix it up a little bit, go for a bit of a gambly strategy like that, I think it's a great idea, and at the very least, it shows where his mindset is at. He was ahead at that point in the series. It was a perfect opportunity to take a bit of a chance. And now, once again, he's ahead in the series. Now, once more, he's got an opportunity here to maybe catch the opponent off guard. So, we'll have to keep an eye on exactly what he decides to go for. Judging off of the previous games, though, it's always a little bit later on, right? It's nothing too aggressive. No, like, proxy hatchery over here. No spinecrawler rushes. Just hanging out, slowly macroing up, and then maybe going for, like, a mid-game timing. I'm assuming Stats will go for a Stargate opener, because Stats always goes for a Stargate opener. Hey, look, it's a Stargate opener. I don't think anybody can be too surprised. Oh! Really? We just saw Shin do this. Woo! We're going for another drone rush. We are going for another drone all-in. The idea is that you mineral walk the drones, pass any unit in the wall off, and then attack with the Zerglings from the front, drones from the back. He's taking the long way around. Zergling speed is only about halfway done, but at this point, there's nothing to defend at home. There will be another adept popping out in just a moment, but choo-choo, everything's showing up. If that pylon falls, it's going to be very, very difficult for Protoss to achieve much. Oracle is coming up, but Oracles have a limited amount of HP. Nice movement right here on those probes, though, getting a massive amount of surface area. But in the meantime, yeah, the second Adept did not quite pop. A lot of workers are going down. Oracle's about halfway done. Is there enough for Stats to buy enough time here? He's trying to see if he can get that second Adept out, and I think the second Adept will certainly finish. I don't think we're going to be seeing any Warp Gate anytime soon. Stats is obviously losing out on a ton of economy here, but Lambo also only has a handful of workers remaining. I can't believe that we have this again. No way, dude. It's Lambo who obtains the victory 3-1 over Stats. I do love these all-ins. Yeah, so I think when Lambo is ahead in a best of 5, when Lambo is ahead in a best of 3, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see him go for something a little bit more risky. We play relatively normal in game number 1, game number 3. But apparently when we're leading the series, we go for a bit of an all-in. I love it.